don't be a panickin'. President Trump coining a new phrase as he sticks to his guns on tariffs, telling Wall Street and regular folks to be strong, courageous, and patient as their 401ks took a roller coaster in the stock market. The president promising if you are patient, greatness will be the result. At the same time, President Trump also says that he could be ready to talk and cut deals with over 180 nations that he tariffed, meeting earlier with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for his first meeting with a world leader since the tariffs launched.
It can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations, because there are things that we need beyond tariffs. We're going to get fair deals and good deals with every country, and if we don't, we're going to have nothing to do with them. They're not going to be allowed to participate in the United States. It's the only chance our country will have to reset the table, because no other president would be willing to do what I'm doing or to even go through it. Now, I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end. Tariffs will make this country very rich.
Team Trump working overtime to tame the tariff beast, with administration officials saying over 50 countries have reached out to make deals.
More than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation.
There doesn't have to be a recession.
Army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones. That kind of thing is going to come to America. It's going to be automated, and great Americans, the trade craft of America, is going to fix them, is going to work on them.
Meanwhile, the Democrats busy trying to score some political points, criticizing the president for playing golf as tariffs rocked the stock market.
Where was Trump when those soldiers were transferred to Dover Air Force Base? Trump was at his resort in Miami, Florida. He was there to hit the links for the Saudi-backed Live golf tournament.
Is the president out on a golf cart while people's retirement is in flames?
He spent the day working on his golf swing.
They're experiencing uncertainty, right? And they see the president off golfing.
Jesse, one of the things I cannot stand is complaints about golf.
Me too. And that's not a middle finger to middle America. That's a middle finger to all these foreign countries who are trying to get on the phone and negotiate these tariffs down. But if Biden was golfing during a stock market like this, I'm sure I wouldn't say a word.
You wouldn't.
I would not. And now I'm not panicking, Dana, because I'm not looking.
Okay.
I haven't looked at my bank account. I'm afraid. But I'm just going to be patient. And my people are going to set me up so when this thing rallies, I can say, in your face, Harold, and it will rally, because it always does. Now, Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, broke the Bank of England. That's who I want running this. He'll probably break the Bank of China. And that's what we're trying to do here. This is a 40-year problem, and we've only been at it for 4 days. Take a breath. What Lutnick is saying, American workers are not going to be screwing in little screws to iPhones. He's saying the future is robotics. He's saying the future is AI, automation, and robotics. So you're going to have this massive high-tech manufacturing sector that's going to be building cars, airplanes, data centers, and you're going to need American blue-collar workers to service these robots, build the robots, and maintain them and operate them. If we're going to have ships, if we're going to have new weapons for the next century, that's the game. And if you're saying they're going to pass this tariff onto the customer and they're going to raise prices, okay, maybe. Or we just got 6 million new customers all over the world. So we're going to be making so much money selling these things to India and Asia and Europe that we're not going to have to raise prices. Now, everybody says, oh, you know, we have these flat screen TVs. Got to have our cheap flat screen TVs. Okay. Does the guy really need $50 off a flat screen when his factory left, when he doesn't have a job and fentanyl's pouring into the country? That's the trade-off we're talking about here. Now, here's how I feel about this. Remember in 2022, when they had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth? And that's technically a recession, and the S&P was down 20% for the year. Did anybody panic? Were there any panicins? No, they said Bidenomics was working. I don't know if it was or not.
Well, obviously not.
We have, right, and that's the point, because now we have growth in the economy. We have S&P that's only down 14%, massive amounts of private investments pouring in, and we had a massive jobs number to hit in March. So everybody stop panicking. Relax.
All right. I feel like, Harold, you got a lot of notes. I'm going to go to you next, and we'll give you the floor.
Wait, first, good to be back. It's glad to be back, and good to be back around the table, and hope everybody had a good weekend. I'd say two things to Jesse. I hope you're right. Two, thus far you don't appear to be right. And I say that for just a couple of objective reasons. First, President Trump and I agree on probably a lot of things. One thing we agreed on over the last 7-8 years is that every day you get a scorecard about how our economy and how consumers and business leaders feel, business people of all sizes, big and small businesses, how they feel about the day, how they feel about what happened that day. And we generally look to our equity markets to get some sense of that. We've lost $7 trillion in 3 trading days. It was down as much as $10 trillion, up a little bit today as I was on with Dana in the morning, and then on the show this morning, and then down as the day went on. Two, we have economists at some of the biggest financial institutions in the country have now raised their recession risk, or she said the risk that the country will be plunged into a recession. And they all think it's because it's a self-inflicted wound. Now let's think about the positive things the president wants to do with what he's doing here. He wants to bring two things, I think, and sometimes it's unclear what the destination is. He sometimes says he wants 0 tariffs from all these countries. I saw Ms. Navarro on this morning saying, even if we get 0 tariffs, there are other things we want from the countries as well. It's odd to hear that because some of these countries we talk about selling things to, Jesse, they're very small countries. We've suggested that we want to sell more beef to Honduras. Honduras has a $75 billion GDP. If they spent all of their GDP on us, it wouldn't make a dent in what we're doing. Don't get me wrong, I love $75 billion, but when you've lost $7 trillion, it seems to me to be a weird trade-off. I'm not that great at math, but that's not a winning.
I think they want to sell it to Australia more than Honduras.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's big, beautiful beef, Harold.
Yes.
Let's get it right.
So if you want to go there, I'm happy to go there. The reason they don't take our beef and pork, you know what? They don't like the fact that there are hormones in them.
Yeah, that's an excuse. They do it to Europe too.
Okay. Well, these are excuses that have been going on for years. 3, throughout our history as a nation, the first 100 years of the United States, we ran a trade deficit. You know why? Because we were a growing nation. We were a rapidly growing economy. Economies that are growing run trade deficits, not because they don't make things, but because they're consuming so much of the world's resources. The one time in our nation's history where we did not run a deficit was during the Great Depression. Why? Because we weren't a rapidly growing economy at the time. This is just math. Now let's get to the facts. The president wants to produce more things in America. He wants to reduce the trade deficits with countries, and he wants America to be the place that where everything is done. In order to do that, you have to build factories, you have to train workers, and you have to ensure that you have fiscal responsibility. The trade tariffs the president's talking about is a small part of it. He has made it the only part of it. Where I said last week that I hope and pray that he knows what he's talking about, thus far, he doesn't seem to know what he's talking about. If this takes 6 months to a year, and we find see the kind of continued stress in our economy and our markets, Jesse, it won't be about whether you're panicking or I'm panicking. All of our viewers will be panicking because they will see not only that their retirement numbers should their retirement accounts have come down, you'll find young people not being able to find jobs or good paying jobs. You'll see houses not being sold. You'll see grocery prices being too high and people not being able to spend at small businesses. So Judge, it may be funny, but the reality so far is the numbers don't. If this were a Democrat in office, I say to everyone around this table and people watching who I love the fact that they watch, if this were a Democrat doing this, we would have a very, very different take on this, and I would be leading that charge. Thus far, this isn't working. I want to give it all the time in the world, but at some point, when it gets to 10 trillion we've lost in the market, and we're trying to make up a few billion in tariffs, someone has to say to the president, this isn't the way to do it, Mr. President.
And I don't think the judge was laughing. She was just going to jump in with a point.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean I wasn't trying to be critical.
First of all, Harold, no one thinks this is funny. This is very serious.
I wasn't trying to say that, Judge. I wasn't trying to say that at all.
You did say it, but let's be real clear about something, and that is that President Trump is doing what presidents have refused to do for the last 40 or 50 years, okay? Donald Trump is fighting for the middleman in this country. He is fighting to make sure that this country has the ability to survive in terms of if there is another catastrophe like COVID, where we don't have to rely on other countries for medication. We don't have to worry about the supply chain. We are in a position where we can take care of ourselves, and our strength is maintained within the United States. Now, all he is doing is demanding that there is fair trade for Americans. I don't want to hear that $89 or $29 billion of beef comes from Australia to the United States, and we don't even sell a hamburger to Australia. I don't want to hear that 94% of the shrimp comes from Southeast Asia and Ecuador that doesn't have anywhere near the protections of their food, and then none of our shrimp is going anywhere else. I don't want to hear that American businesses are being blocked by other countries that get the benefit of blocking us and getting our money. So what we need right now is a president who has the strength, the stamina, taking the fight to other countries. We sell 0 cars to Japan. You look out on this street, you've got Mitsubishis, Hondas, Mazdas, Nissans, Subarus. We don't sell cars in the EU. I don't know the last time I saw a Cadillac in the EU, but they've got Mercedes over here and BMWs over here and Volkswagens over here. I'm tired of the inequity, and so is he. And this is about making sure that we get treated fairly. And this idea, how dare he start a trade war? He didn't start the war. They did. And it's time we protected American industry. It's time we protected Americans' assets. And the consequence in the end is that we will have food that will be safer, it will be American, and we will have industry in this country. And by the way, they're coming to the table. They're willing to go 0 for 0. The EU is. Right now, Israel is dropping tariffs. Right now, he's saying to China, and my money is on President Trump, who got rid of the caliphate that everybody bit their nails about, every Democrat for years. He got rid of the caliphate in 6 weeks, but they said it couldn't be done. He's saying by the 9th, 50% increase. And you know what? The Americans voted for substantial change, and Donald Trump is giving it to them.
It's called The Patience of Greg.
Yes.
Sitting there quietly thinking, writing notes. What do you want to say?
Well, it is a different time than the Depression, Harold. And what's the difference? Cheap labor abroad. Just 1 or 2 iterations from slave labor, but we don't see it, so we don't care. We can watch an NBA basketball player talk about the inequalities in our country while he pushes for shoes made by kids in China. We can't even sell these goods at pawn shops. They're so bad. Have you heard that story?
No.
The crap it's so crappy. They're like, this isn't even American made anymore. Yeah, it is down 3 days. That's a half opinion. Give it time. You elected this guy based on the fact that he's working for you, so why don't you give him the time to work? People who panic at the first sign of uncertainty, they're freaking out at the hard part. But everything in life that is worth doing always has a hard part. Doesn't matter when, that's the mantra for life. Short-term pain up front almost guarantees long-term benefit and calm after all. But it's easy to be brave during the easy part. It's better to be brave during the hard part. Let's say there's a donut right here, Jesse, a tasty donut, and I want to eat it. Short-term reward, I eat it, and then what do I feel? You'll hear me for the rest of the day. I will hate it. I will go like, why did I eat that donut? But if I don't eat that donut, that means I don't get that short-term pleasure. It's short-term pain, but long-term, I'm slimmer, I'm beautiful. I'm the envy of Harold. So this idea of delayed gratification, short-term pain underlies every single thing you do in life. Exercise, food, relationships, work, and yes, even trade. It's going to hurt a little bit, but it wasn't like Donald Trump didn't tell us that was going to happen. He said it'll get a little bumpy. He's the pilot telling you when we take off, it's going to be a little bumpy. You hate it when your friend screams during that part, so don't scream. Tariffs are...
That's so true.
Tariffs are offering that choice. You continue on this path of asymmetrical economic relationships, you're going to get cheap goods. But where are we in a decade? Or even sooner, fewer jobs, fewer manufacturing plants, more dependent on countries who embrace the immorality of slave wages that we wouldn't do here. So the tariff is short-term pain, stock market panic, for long-term reward. And when you see a lot of these people panicking, remember that 10% owned 88% of the stock market. Do you think they're panicking? No, they're buying. They're buying. Because I wish I bought during the pandemic, but I keep my money in a sack.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, we don't know what we were doing.
You can buy now, Greg.
That's a big sack.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.